I am going to drop this fuel tank and replace this pump. It's a sensor actually is going bad on this pump. So if you have an issue with the with your gauge, your fuel gauge, turn it going to E when you know you got fuel in the tank. That's the sensor on the pump. And the pump inside the tank, you can take it out, and some people take the sensor off and replace the sensor. That's a cheaper way, but in this case I am going to take the whole pump out and go and get a new pump because the pump has warranty on it. So I've already disconnected the lines from the up here, if you can see, from the fuel filter, the rear fuel filter. And what it has is it has these clamps. It has these clamps that locks it in. So you just have to lift up on both sides of these clamps, pull the clamp out, set the clamp to the side, and from the back, I don't know if you can see, on the back of this, you can push. There's a button here, you push it, and as you push it, you pull this down, and on the top, there's one on the top, you push it and you pull this out, and they'll come out. And that's how you disconnect those. This here is the hose that leads down into the fuel tank. It just has a hose clamp that you can loosen with a flat head, or I believe this, if you have a, I don't know, this may be a 7 millimeter. If you want to put a 7 millimeter wrench on it, that may work, but I'm just using a small flat head for this small area just to loosen this hose clamp here. And that's how you put fuel into the tank. That hose right there. So you just need to loosen this clamp, and then you can slide this hose off of here, which is attached to the top of the tank. And then there are some other connectors up here where the tank itself is. I'm looking at this on my camera, so you'll have to loosen those hoses that are on top of the tank. You can do that with your hand, you can feel it, or you can loosen the bracket and lower it just a little bit, just so you can see it more. But you don't want to put too much pressure on those hoses because they're short. You don't want to pop those hoses. But that's the fuel tank right there. This when you loosen this hose right here, I've already got this clamp loosen. Make sure when you tighten it back up, you tighten it in a position that's going to be easy for you if you ever have to take it down again. This pump, the first time it wasn't really in an easy position, so it was a pain, but I make sure I put it where I could get to it, because I've actually replaced this pump before. This pump only has 31,000, about 31,000, almost 32,000 miles on it. So the pump isn't bad. The sensor went bad, which could have been a defective sensor, because the original pump lasted over 373,000 miles, and that was a stock pump. So I figured, some people upgrade. I figured, why upgrade? I'm going to go back with stock. But in this case, this sensor is defective, so I'm just going to give it up. Maybe I got a bad one. But anyway, when you're loosening this, you're going to have here this little small hose here. This is attached to let air out of the tank. Right here, it runs alongside, and this is also attached to the tank, so you don't want to damage this at all. There are some clamps that came on here, but you have to cut them loose. So what I did was I put zip ties. I had a zip tie here, the zip tie in several places, but you cut them off, and when you're ready to reinstall, you want to make sure you have more zip ties, and just put a zip tie where it runs, where you see that pipe runs all the way out here, and just zip tie it off. So it's simple. I've already got everything unhooked as far as the zip ties for the breather, and I also got the hose clamp for the hose that goes in the top of the tank. And pretty much this is that breather line right here, where it lets the air out of the tank. It runs all the way back up there. But anyway, I have not loosened the two clamps, the wires that hold the tank on yet. I tried to see what I can loosen with the connectors. I wanted to explain something. If anyone is going to do this, you want to be very careful with these connectors. On this one here, this wire doesn't fall down on the tank. It stays up here. And this first connector here, it has a, see this little, I don't know if camera you can see it, but this clamp right here, it stays onto the tank. And this connector just pushes in there and locks in there. if you ever accidentally break this, you can, I think maybe AutoZone or Advance, you can buy it more and just stick it down on here, because I actually broke it the first time I took it off. So this is a newer one. But you can when you take this one off, it's the easiest one. You just press it on this, press the sides of this clamp and slide the hose off and move that hose out of the way. This main plug, you want to be careful not to break this, okay? You want to get a flathead. If you can't just pop this red piece back, you unlock it. If you can't pop it back with your hand, you get a flathead and just put a little pressure until you pop it out. And then this, you have to press down on this to loosen it. I can't get a good leverage to really press down on it and loosen it up here. So what I'm going to do is this hose right here, this one comes off. You see, it hooks to the fuel filter here. And this whole hose is going to come off. Actually, both of these hoses, they're going to come off. Well, in a minute. No, this one doesn't come off. But this one here, this one will come off with the tank. So there's a bracket here holding these two hoses together that go into the fuel filter. And you just have to take the other one and slide it out. You slide that one out. But this one comes off with the tank. So I don't have to take this off because it's a pain. The button that you would press to take it off, it's actually at the bottom. So when I put it back on, I'm going to try not to put it back in that position. Now what I'm going to do, that I've gotten everything loose except this plug, I'm going to come and lower the bracket that holds the top of the tank. It's a 5/8 inch. I'll show you. Okay, I got the jack in place, and this, what I wanted to share is, it would not hurt to see, this tank isn't that heavy at all. It's probably like probably like 3 or 4 gallons in there. I don't know, but it wouldn't hurt to put anti-seize on these bolts when you're putting this back up. It wouldn't hurt. They're old, you know. So, and a lot of dirt gets up under this, up under the truck. So anti-seize is good, because that would be a tight place to have to try to cut a freaking nut off. Yep. Oh, that didn't sound right. But anyway, anti-seize wouldn't hurt. I got this back 5/8 bolt bracket loose. So I'm just going to take these hangers and move them all the way out the way. And I put the nuts back up so I don't lose them. I put them back on each of the bolts. But before I reinstall this tank, I'm going to put some anti-seize on this, on both of these bolts. They won't hurt anything. And this bracket back here, I'm just going to put my knee and lift up the tank a little bit. See, I'm just going to lift it up like that so I can get this bracket all the way out of my way. I'm going to straighten it back up in there. This back bracket, it comes out. You just got to move it around a little bit. Pain in the butt. And I'm gonna have to put the phone down. But that bracket, it'll come out. You gotta lift it up and slide it out of there. So let me put the phone down. Okay, I got it out. You just have to push this thing over, push the tank over some, lift it up, you can get this out of your way. And now I can go and lower the tank. I have managed to loosen that plug at the top. Okay, see, I was able to lower it, and I unplugged this main sensor. When I put this sensor back on, before I put it back on, I'm going to get my air compressor and I'm going to blow this out. And then I'm going to use some electrical connecting grease, because sometimes these can get corroded before I plug this up, and it can cause a, it can cause a sensor to not pick up properly. And I don't want to run into this issue again. So anyway, I'm going to lower the tank. This, I forgot to mention this right here. This little bracket here is attached to the tank. And when you lower it, it's going to, these hoses are the depth hoses. So you're going to have to loosen this lift that up. It just presses down in there. You just lift that up and you can move these hoses so when the tank comes down it doesn't put strain on these DEF hoses for the DEF system. And that's pretty much it. Okay, I got the bad boy down. See this hose, I was telling you, this is flexible. This breather hose, you can just move it from around the axle up there, around the, it'll maneuver its way and get the tank all the way out. So I got this bad boy all the way down, and I am just, oh shucks, I gotta get my headscarf, it falling off. I can't get my locks dirty, baby. All right, so I can just roll this out of the way. Okay, now that I got this bad boy out, see, I can rotate this other hose. And oh, that's why I put the hose on that way. Okay, you can only put it on that way for it to connect to the fuel filter. Remember the fuel filter housing up underneath? So it has to be turned that way, but it's okay because this hose comes off with the tank. Then you can see what I'm talking about. You press that in, and you just slide this hose off. And I may need two hands. Wait a minute. Why is it not? Come back, Mate! Mate! Where is it? Oh, okay. This one is not gonna press in like that. Let me see. It should, because look, when I press it, you see this open up? See, when I press that, you see these open up? And you should be able to slide it off. Let me try and press a little harder. Or what I may do, I may just remove those. You see, I can remove those. Should be able to press it and have them open up. But hold on, let me get a little pick and I can remove that without breaking it. Okay, I take this little pick and I press this up to get it out of there. Right, if you happen to break this, you can get another pack of these. But yeah, it actually has to come out. It won't. See, you got fuel coming out of the tube. But I'm gonna put this back in there just a little bit. But yeah, it had a weird way of just coming out of there, and it obviously locks the hose in. So I will put this back like that so that I don't lose this. And I'll put this little hose to the side. Now the fun part begins. This right here, this bracket has to come off. It holds it in there. Now you can tap it with a flathead or something. You just have to tap this up and it'll pop up. Or if you do it the technical way, you would use this little tool here, which fits into, see, it's kind of curved. You can order one of these off of Amazon for like 20-30 bucks. It fits into the little notches of the bracket, and it will loosen it and tighten it for you. Bada boom, bada bing. Just need a 1/2 inch ratchet. We got one. We're winning. Stick it in there, and which way? Let me see. The bracket goes left loose, right tight. Let me see. I'm going to the right. I need to go to the left. So I may have to put the phone down. Let me put the phone down so I can hold it with 2 hands so this thing doesn't pop up on me. It wasn't much at all. I just put the phone down, held it with 2 hands, and twisted a little, and it popped straight up. See? It popped up. So that wasn't bad. If you don't have this bracket, you can this tool, you can use the flathead and it will do the job. It definitely wasn't torqued down on there really tight. So I'm gonna put this tool out of the way. Baby, 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 baby. The hardest part was getting this thing unplugged. See, I am that new pump. I'm definitely gonna put some grease on those electrical connectors. I'm gonna put this bracket right here to the side. Here is the old pump coming out, coming out, coming out. And this is just the gasket that goes around before you put a new one, and the new one will come with a gasket. But you want to kind of clean, I want to kind of clean all this stuff up so it doesn't drop into the tank, all this dirt and thing, and it still splashes up. I'm gonna put the phone down and clean that. Look at all that dirt. I don't want that to fall in the tank. Look at the tank. From around there, and just move you out the way, little gasket. All that diesel fuel in there. See if I can force it back in there and let it spill out of this pump. See, this pump don't look bad at all. It's fairly new. It's fairly new. Get the diesel out of there. There's still some in there. Just pull it out. And that's the sensor right there. That's the thing that's gone bad. That sensor. That's the thing that's acting up. But pour the diesel right back in the tank. Anyway, you repeat the same procedure. Put the new one in, lock everything back up, hook everything back up, and that's pretty much it. That's how you replace the fuel. If you're going to replace the whole pump, here's the pump. If you're going to replace the sensor, that's the sensor. But I think there's a way you can take that off. I just replaced the whole pump. You got to go through all this and take the whole thing out. But I know folk who have just replaced this sensor. But anyway, that's it. Bada boom, bada bing. Now, I was saying I wasn't going to, I don't know if you can see that. I was saying I wasn't going to drain this little bit of fuel that's in there, but I'm going to. You see that? That's little dirt and metal pieces. And I'm going to clean that out of there. So, yeah, I'm going to drain it. I got a little suction pump from Harbor Freight. Anyway, hope this helps somebody. Just wanted to share something. I know some people say sometimes they have rust at the inside of their tank, but if you look inside of this tank, this is inside of the fuel tank. I've seen like on the wall, that's just dirt debris. And I was able to get down and wipe it. But you can see all the areas where I've wiped. That's just a thin film of dirt debris. There is no rust on the inside of this tank. I think it looks pretty good. And this the first time I replaced it as well. That the dirt I can wipe my hand. I don't know if the camera shows it because I'm sticking the phone in there. But that was all the way down here, and I just wiped it. It's just a thin film of dirt. Other than that, it was just a little trash. But I don't think these plastic gas tanks, I don't think that they rust out. Anyway, this is it. I hope it helps somebody. One last thing I want to show you. So, even though the fuel tank was almost empty, I drove a truck it was almost on E. Well, it still was a lot of fuel. It was almost 5 gallons, so it was about almost 10 gallons. It didn't feel like 10 gallons, but it was on E, and it was almost 10 gallons still left in the truck. So if you're gonna reuse the fuel, you want to get you a funnel. See with that filter, or there's more higher tech funnels that filters out the fuel. But I mean, this simple thing right here, it can still do the job. $6 to $8 for this. You can see the filter there. I've already cleaned this filter twice. It catches the debris here, if anything that was in the fuel. So I've already cleaned that off. You can see the little trash there that's on it. So if you're gonna reuse the fuel, just get you a good filter so that you can filter it into a container. And in this case, I'm filtering this into an auxiliary tank. So yeah, that's the last thing I wanted to share. Don't throw the fuel away. If it's good, just filter it out and reuse it, right? I need to share one thing with you. Don't be like me and make this mistake of turning in your old pump when you pick up your new one. You got to remember to take your connectors. Remember this little connector? They don't come on a new pump. So you need to take this off without breaking it. So I'm going to have to put the phone down and take this off, and then it goes on the new connector. The new pump, and that's what keeps it locked to you. So there it is. You don't want to break this. If you got like a little needle needle nose, you can put it in to pry these 2 hooks back, and then just slide it up off of there, and that's it. Okay, as you can see, I already got the fuel pump back in, but this little piece right here is what I forgot. So hopefully I can get it on up here. This is how the new pump comes. I've already got all the other connectors hooked up. This piece, see? This piece has to go on top of there, and I need to get it on without having to take the fuel tank back down. There we go. It's easy to go on. It just stays on there, and now I can plug this last plug back up. Okay? Bada boom, bada bing. Oh, let me see. Wait a minute. What am I doing? Can't hardly see with the camera in my camera is in my way. There we go. It just snaps back on. Now it's in place. That snaps back on like that. That's back on. And if I was to take it off, I just squeeze the tabs and slide it back off. So yeah, that's on. I've already hooked the hoses back up to the fuel filter. I've already plugged the main plug back in, and I put some connector grease in there, so make sure it doesn't get corroded. And I'm put this, see these wires? Well, I got to tighten the top back all the way up. Once I tighten the top up, I'm going to fasten these wires. These hoses, the DEF hoses. But anyway, that's it. I ain't add no more to this video, and I'm gonna hook these hoses back up here, and that's it. Bada boom, bada bing. Just did everything in reverse.